like do it because you love it and because it's fun and you love hanging out with your buddies. If you do that, you'll do it a lot, and if you do it a lot, you'll get good at it. It'll drive you to share it. Like, have fun, and the rest follows from there.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Very Interesting People podcast, where we sit down with some talented independent creators to talk about their craft, share some stories, and inspire you to create something yourself. And with me today is Heart and Hustle. Well, two-thirds of Heart and Hustle.
Hey.
So let's go down the line and introduce each other. We'll start with Yellow Hoodie.
My name is Jacob, and I am the bass player for Heart and Hustle.
And Dustin, the lead singer and guitarist.
And who's missing today?
Our drummer, Kyle. Unfortunately, he's on that. He's got a baby. He's got a couple of puppies. His girlfriend works nights, so it's tough for him to... Yeah, we were the young swinging bachelors. We can get out and we can do whatever we want, but he's kind of... Free birds. He's got responsibilities.
Awesome. And I'm your host, Kiefer Campney. So we're going to get right into it. For the people who don't already know who you guys are, tell us a little bit about your band, what kind of music you make.
Yeah, for sure. So based here out of Kelowna. I guess how I'd describe our sound is it's funny because it's been like years.
We were talking about that earlier.
It's been years of trying to describe what we do.
Acoustic punk, but not even like just a little bit.
I'd say upbeat, dancey, high energy, like indie flavored
bar
rock,
vibes.
I think. Yeah.
Bar vibes.
It's like really upbeat, bouncy indie rock, I think is the best way.
It's really high
to describe it, yeah.
Give her a listen, you tell us.
Yeah, check him out on Spotify, Heart and Hustle. That's the EP's name, right?
Yeah, we just did a self-titled, we just a DIY EP.
Yeah. That's the way to do it with like local bands especially, is everyone's DIY. Like, we're in the bandwagon again. Shout out to the bandwagon.
Yeah, honestly, this space is so cool.
Jake's in the back here, but like that's DIY. Like everyone in like local indie bands, you got to start somewhere. You do it yourself, especially with most people we know now. Like Kelowna's got a lot of audio techs, and I know Jacob's one of them.
Yep.
And like anyone can pretty much just like get a laptop and tracks.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can just do off a laptop and a couple of mics and like all your plugins in the box, and like if you just kind of fumble your way around engineering it yourself, and then there's so much you can do yourself. Like you can get really professional sounding stuff just by applying yourself and spending a little bit of time. Like it's crazy. It's not like how it used to be where you needed a record label to front you $100,000 to go sit in the studio. You know,
now it's like what, like $50 and you can get on Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff.
Yeah, and just for like at the local level, just getting your brand together, getting some graphic work done, getting a couple of tunes recorded, so you at least have something where you can direct promoters or other bands. As long as you have a platform, as long as you can build your brand and build a little platform, then you just kind of take it from there.
I guess we're going backwards first. Usually we end with our advice column, and that's the big advice spiel. But all right, well, we'll get into some more about you guys. So Heart and Hustle, bar vibes, acoustic indie, big mix of genres like most indie bands are. How'd you guys get started? I guess we'll go music first. How'd you get into music, and then how'd the band come together?
Yeah, so I grew up in like small town central Alberta, Lacombe. I don't know if people. It's like
in reference to like here. Calgary or Edmonton. How
like
far away?
Right in between, basically.
Oh, nice.
It's like little like 2 exits off the main highway, like 10,000 person kind of small town. And I was just always like started playing guitar when I was 15 and just like had a passion for music, but there's just no scene, like there's no culture whatsoever.
Yeah.
Central Alberta. So I came out to do the audio program at Cato out here, and I got a job with at the time production company in town, SPL Sound.
Nice.
They got taken over by SW, which is the local production company here now. But I would just go down to the shop on like a Sunday morning and just be like, hey, can I do something? Can I like unload the truck or like just whatever, you know? So I just kept showing up, and they just kept giving me shit to do. And then eventually it was one of those like buddy was hungover and didn't show up, and they needed to send someone out to a show, and it was like, oh well, this kid this kid's here, like
Yeah,
send him.
he's here. Yeah, we can use him.
So I got in with the production company at the time then, and that's how I met Kyle, our drummer. He was kind of like he's one of the lead sound techs there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just vibed out on the same music, and he was a drummer, and I played guitar, and so it was like back in the day. This is like 2009, like 10 years ago.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
2009.
Way back when I was a young man,
Yeah.
in my prime.
Yeah.
And so we started playing back then. We picked up a guy just from some random show, and so we had this band back then, and we went by Vintage Tide. It was a shit name thinking back on it, but
Vintage Tide.
we played shows and stuff back then, and then yes, we were working our way up through the ranks in town, and but then I decided to go move to Australia for a year. So
Interesting.
I kind of screwed up the band's plans. But then I came back. I'm going to the university now. I'm fourth year business degree at UBC, and we just started the band back up.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
So, I became a very big music fan when I was at a very young age through my parents doing worship at church for Sunday school and stuff like that. And eventually I was like, well, hey, I want to be doing music too. I want to start learning, and then we can have this whole big family band kind of thing. That never worked out.
No.
But I took 2 years of piano lessons, and then I eventually chose my own instrument, my bass, and I've been playing bass since I was like 14, but took a few years of lessons for that. Branched off, kind of did my own thing, started producing with FL Studios, and just getting more interested in that as I was working in school and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And then I was living at Medicine Hat at the time and didn't really like the music scene that was really popular over there, just kind of country vibes and whatnot. And I wanted to get away from that and get back to my roots because I'm from Tumbler Ridge, BC.
Yeah.
The very small ghost town up north. But yeah, I was like, I want to get out of here. Where should I go? I talked with two of my buddies, AJ and Miles, who were taking the audio engineering and music production course here at the college.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, come check out Kelowna. Come see what it's up. And I was like, okay. Came and visited for like 3 days. Fell in love with the city. Fell in love with like the music production and just like the vibes. People, like the lake.
Yeah.
Everything. You just can't get away. And I was like, coming back here. And started music. And did the whole course with everybody, with you,
Yeah.
Kiefer, and Jake in the background.
Yeah.
And yeah, after that, I did some volunteering with SW, and through that, I met Kyle. And then Kyle was like, "Yo, dude, we're missing a bass player. We need a bass man." I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm a bass man." "Oh, dude, what? Dude, not." And then he invited us over. That's my best Kyle impression. He's not here. But, gotta stick it up.
I think it was good. Yeah.
And then, yeah, met Dustin, jammed once, and we were like, yo, let's keep it going, keep it rolling. And boom, that's my music story.
That's my music
My
story.
very, very quick music story. I also make my own music as well.
Yeah, you had a couple, well, just one rap EP, right? Or was it a full
Yeah.
album?
Full EP.
Oh, damn, man.
But it was like, I'm still working on some new stuff, so it's not a dead project.
Nice.
The Jacoby is still
The
alive.
Jacoby.
But
So yeah, once you guys got the band together, you had already written some music before Jacob came on. So once he came on, what was the new process?
Yes, we have just a pile of tunes, and our initial bass player was one of our buddies, and but he had like a kid or had a couple of kids and stuff as well. So it was pretty tough for him to be like fully committed and to be able to make it out to jams and like make it out to every show and stuff. So, but they ended up having another kid, and they had to move back to Alberta. So yeah, we were just like down a bass player. So, and it's tough, especially in a fairly small town. Like just finding the right guys is just so important because even more than like the music, it's just like your buddies that you want to like hang out with, like that's why you do is just get together and have fun. So
yeah,
finding someone that just like clicked was super important to us, and I think it's like part of Heart and Hustle's like kind of thing. I think we're just couple of dudes that just love hanging out and just love to play.
A
So
couple of bros being dudes.
Yeah.
Just having a good
Guys
time.
being dudes.
Yeah.
bros being dudes in,
Bros
in a
being-
man's world.
Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah, I found that's like a big thing with the Kelowna scene. Like it's, even though it's a smaller town, it seems like there's a lot of bands. So usually when you're looking for a new band member, they're already a part of a project.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like going back to 538th Street, Austin, their bass player, he's in Faded Sons. Faded
Right.
Sons is another band, and their drummer's in a metal band, and then their members of the metal band are in different.
Yeah,
like it's like it just
everyone's just in a
infinite
connected
loop.
Spider web.
You know,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, so it's hard to find people who aren't already preoccupied with like life,
Yeah.
and then another band.
And then not only
project.
that, but to be like musically aligned and like just at the right place and time where you can devote yourself to like getting out and
Oh, yeah.
playing and like it's a really hard thing. It's like the act of having a band is
Yeah.
Mhm.
logistically like tough to
Yeah.
get all your lives to kind of line up where you can get out and jam regularly. And
Yeah.
so yeah, but we had Jake come out and it was just immediately like he came out and played for us. I think once or a couple times. But I remember after the first time you came and then you left, and me and Kyle were just like, love the kid.
Yeah.
He can play. I love hanging with him. Like it was just it was an easy it was an easy call. And
yeah.
Jake really brings something too that our other bass player is an absolute swamp monster of a player. Like
Dude,
he can rip. Like he's insane bass
he
player.
just has sex with the neck of the bass line.
But his like he didn't have a ton of like stage presence and
Yeah.
was like pretty reluctant to really like get too crazy or anything.
Mhm.
Whereas Jake brings a real like performance, like your stage presence and
I'm
and
alive
stuff.
and well.
it
on
really
the stage.
it really because that's another big part of our show is
Mhm.
we're like just
Pumping
we're
it up.
going nuts.
Oh
like,
yeah. No, that's
so
crazy.
so it was it was a good fit and
Mhm.
brought a lot of energy to the band.
sure.
So
Nice. So yeah, once you guys all got together, everyone's clicked. So what's your writing process like for your music? So are you still writing new music now, even
Yeah.
with all that backlogged?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, because you don't want your set to get stale. I think
Yeah.
is the like, if you're just playing the same set all the time, then it just like I don't know, just kind of gets boring.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've been writing a couple of new tunes and incorporating some interesting covers and stuff as
Yeah.
well. So
Some
we're all
renditions and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah, but I'd say like almost all of my songs come in my like creative like zen state
Yeah.
is like being out on the patio or being out in the sun in some way, and like a combination of coffee and weed and alcohol, and just like
Perfect.
an afternoon
Nice
and
healthy
just like
mix. Yeah.
just just being out in the sun and just like just getting into that right kind of creative mindset.
It's the
that's
summer
what like, all
vibes.
of
summer vibes are the best
Yeah.
for writing because like you're always happy.
Yeah.
It's always nice out, and it's just
Till the forest catches on
simple.
fire, and then you're a little less happy.
it's just a little less.
and it always kind of goes for me. I'll be like coming up with chord progressions or like licks and stuff, and it never seems like it's a song until all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I've just been screwing around on this for like a couple of weeks or something, and now I've got like a full structure fleshed out, and
Yep.
and then but like for me it's always the music, the music always happens first, but I can never start writing lyrics until I know what the song is intrinsically about.
Yeah.
And so sometimes like songs sit in that limbo state for a long time because
There's- every one of my songs is in limbo right now because I don't know how to write about it.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that interesting
It's just like an
conflict
enigma.
you find.
So whether it's like a song about a certain like a relationship or like I don't know some kind of theme,
Mm.
that's always the hardest part. Is like, okay, the music is there. How do I feel? Like, what is this song about?
Right.
And then from that point, lyrics. I don't know for other what it's like for other people. It's always interesting talking to the way people write their lyrics. But to me, I've never written my lyrics down before. They just appear. They just appear out of the air.
Nice.
And I never like rewrite anything. It just whatever comes, like that's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of a funny process compared to I know a lot of other people like
They got idea books, and
Yeah.
they're writing individual like verses, and like, oh, this one fits
yeah
here. and
reworking it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just for me.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but then it just pops out of the air.
I
And
just find it so
that's the
fascinating
kick.
because like when I think of music, I think, okay, write some chords and some like that's kind of not easy, but for me it's like, oh, that comes more naturally. But like writing lyrics, I'm like, I don't know what to talk about,
Yeah.
like a little and sing about and make
Yeah.
it like sound good. So it's really interesting when people are like, yeah, it just kind of comes to me in a dream, and I just
And a lot of like other people I know, it starts with it starts with a melody,
yeah.
and then the words come from the melody.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Everyone has their own way of just kind of like putting it together and making
Yeah.
it happen. I guess I'm sure it's the same with like, it's like to me like filmmaking. It makes no sense to me how people like make films.
Oh yeah.
I did like some introductory stuff like in Cato, like just like film intro or whatever. Just like
Right.
the sheer amount of work it takes to set one scene is like unbelievable.
It's so interesting. Like I've talked on the show, I haven't talked to many filmmakers yet. I'd like to. There's a couple directors I know locally, but like talking with game developers too. It's all of it's so
Ugh.
weird because it's like you're making a piece of art, and they all incorporate similar elements. Like music is present in film and games, and obviously in music itself is
Yeah.
very present. So it's interesting to see people like everyone's working together on something, and it's so much coordination. And
The
it's like-
logistics, like those big sets, like
Oh yeah.
doing costume, makeup, lighting, friggin' everything.
Yeah.
I can't believe that like people make films. Like it just seems so crazy to me that
Same with like
what it takes to make
Budgets
what
on
it
'em.
takes to make one scene happen, and then all the post production stuff. Like I
Yeah.
think film stuff is just insane.
yeah. It's so like it's a good mix of technicalities and like science and engineering and then art.
Yeah,
Because like you can
Just
have all of the
creativity.
technical stuff, and that's not going to make a good movie. It's same with like
Yeah.
music. You have a really great mix and great studio, and like sure you're like really good at all of your actual like songwriting and like your instrument and your theory. But then when it comes to it, like yeah, you could know like every chord in the world and every like progression, everything. But then if you can't put
Doesn't
it all
have
together
soul,
organically,
yeah,
yeah, if
you
it doesn't have
know?
the soul, it
If-
doesn't
if,
pop.
If it's not a good story, or if
Exactly.
you're not, if it's like
Exactly.
the acting isn't there, there's
Yeah.
isn't chemistry, like then it's whatever, you know. You can have all the most beautiful shots in the world, but it doesn't like make it good still.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, especially good. I've like talked to my girlfriend a lot too. It's like what's a good song, and like when it's like comes to audio, and she's like, oh, you're into film, you're into audio, like how could you can't say whether this is good or not, and like no, I can't. It's like I can tell like they did their job
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's like all taste and preference and basing off your experiences. Like I grew up on like a lot of metal and like classic rock, and then I grew into more modern and like electronic and hip hop and now like jazz and stuff too. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. Like when I listen to some song, I'm like, yeah, that resonates with me. But is it because it's a good song or because
Yeah.
like oh, it makes me nostalgic or it's like
I think
the vibe I'm in?
I think like whatever genre, you know, I feel like good music is just like good music.
Yeah,
Like you just if
Exactly.
it's whether it's a rap tune or a rock song or anything, you know, like if you just kind of you just intrinsically know if it's good
just
music
feels
or
right.
not. Like yeah.
It's like a good bowl of food. You don't know
Yeah.
why you like it, but it tastes right, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is nice.
I think like just being very like genuine and authentic, I think is really important in art. Like again, I think I would like to hope that that's part of like Heart and Hustle's
Oh,
thing
for
too. Is
sure.
that it's just like it's authentic and it's just like it's just
Hey,
us,
this
it's
is
just
us.
us like
This is
having
us.
fun, you know, like yeah.
There's
It's right in the name.
No walls.
Yeah.
There's
Art.
no fakeness.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're not selling out.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Haven't been offered.
have I told you where the name Heart and Hustle came from? I don't know if I.
Oh, please tell us.
Did you ever? Did any of you guys play hockey growing up?
Yes, a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Yeah, so do you remember if you would? I don't know what it was like in Ontario, but you'd go to a tournament and there would be like a Heart and Hustle award. Did you have that?
Nice.
No, I got a little like it was usually like best player, like or most important player.
Oh,
or
yeah.
stuff like that. It was never. Ours was pretty.
Never.
Our little like children's league was pretty sad and
Yeah.
depressing. Like it was very serious.
Yeah.
So it's like everything was very formal. It's like oh,
Your first.
you don't get a
and
like we get a
last.
runner up trophy and it just says like, you know, finalist. And it's like you could be at second place, but you still got
Oh.
finalist.
Yeah.
Like, yikes, dude. But
In
yeah,
in Alberta
Harsh.
anyway, like I know anyone who grew up playing in Alberta would know this. There's always like there's at the end of like every game or whatever in the tournament they would give out like a Heart and Hustle award, and I was always one of like the smaller players, but just like worked super hard.
Oh,
And was
yeah.
just like, you know, and I just amassed a freaking collection of these little. They're usually just like little trophies or little, but
Yeah.
there's always like the Heart and Hustle. So
Nice.
yeah, that was another thing with the band's name. I'm curious how 538th Street actually, but for a name is like, you don't pick a name, like you don't choose it. A name just like it just
It's
it just is, you know,
Yeah.
like you don't even select it. Like the
Yeah.
name just
Yeah.
the name just
comes
it
together.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
Where did the name 538th Street come from? I was curious about that. I was gonna ask about it.
Yeah, it's like where we all kind of first came together, and me and Sam got into music heavily at first, which was on Francis Avenue, 538.
Yeah.
Oh, here
Nice.
in
Yeah.
Kelowna here.
Yeah.
Down
Oh,
off-
really?
off Pando's
Oh,
Street.
okay.
Nice.
And then it was originally Sam's rapper name, and it just had a ring to it.
Yeah.
He just like
Did
more-
did you
more
guys
of an
live together
homage.
there?
Yeah.
Like you guys lived in the
It's
house
still our
together?
mom's house. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and that's where like the bandwagon, when it came back home from the trip, that's where it was parked, and that's where we had our first band practice.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything, and I was
Okay.
like, Sam, we're stealing it.
Yeah. We're
Fucking
hijacking.
yoink
We're
it from
hijacking your
Yeah,
this is
hijacking
it.
your name.
Yeah, so we commandeered the Instagram and everything.
Just took it over.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm excited to. I haven't spoken with Sam too much. I'm excited to. I think he's really talented. I'm excited to
Yeah.
meet him, and I'm excited to see you guys play.
This whole night,
Yeah,
this
I'm excited to
this
see you
night
guys.
coming up is just gonna be.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
unfortunately for
So
listeners, that it passed like 2 weeks ago. But
Wow.
if you can go back in time, there's gonna be a really good show of 538 and Heart and
Yeah.
Hustle over at Dog Wilburys, or is it Willoughby's or
Willoughby's.
Wilburys?
Willoughby's.
Willoughby's. I can't speak.
Willowbees.
Willowbees.
We were talking a little bit about it before we went live, but I think it's relevant to like the podcast here. It's a really important show for like me personally, and I think like I think the 538 Street Boys are excited too. But when I first moved to Kelowna, that's where like I would just go to Docks like all the time. That was like where all the shows were happening,
Yeah.
and I just like saw so many people I admire and so many bands I love play on that stage, and I always had this like I want to play Docks, you know,
Yeah.
like it was always a goal. So yeah, after I went off and did a bunch of traveling and stuff, and then when I ended up coming back to Kelowna finally, and we got Heart and Hustle together, and we kind of started climbing up the ranks. Like there's kind of like a totem pole in town, I guess, and you got to pay your dues.
Oh yeah.
And we had a couple of opportunities to open for some cool bands at Docks, and even that was like, oh sweet, I got here, you know,
Yeah.
I did it. But then yeah, eventually, Colin at Docks, the entertainment director there, he offered us a headlining show there, and it was like, oh yes, I did it. We're doing it. So,
Milestone achieved.
yeah, it's
What's
like
next?
just those like small, humble kind of goal, just the small dream come true, just like
Oh, yeah.
just fulfilling a goal that you like set for yourself.
I think it's a huge thing always. Like people are always like, yeah, my end goal, I want to be a full-time musician making like millions of dollars. It's like, yeah, but what are you gonna keep yourself busy with
Yeah.
until you get there? Like, oh, release an album, headline a show, you know, do maybe like 5-city tour like locally, or maybe
Yeah.
tour in a different province or state if you're in the US. It's like just getting those little goals.
Yeah, those
They
like
keep
short,
you-
medium,
They keep you
long-term
happy.
kinda-
Like that's the main
Yeah.
thing. Like as soon as you hit that, like I'm sure as soon as you guys got that gig, you're like, oh, now we got to work super hard on some new material,
yeah.
Yep.
and it motivates you to keep going further, and
for sure.
then you just get in like a really good flow of like
Yeah.
hitting all your small
Yeah.
goals.
And it keeps that like forward pressure on yourself too.
Oh, yeah.
Like it keeps you from getting like from stagnating, because you know you've got to
Oh yeah.
be working towards, you know.
It's the main thing, getting complacent with your work, like your
Yeah.
art especially. It's like as soon as you feel like you're safe, you're already falling behind
Yep.
because everyone else is going to keep going just as hard as they were before, if not harder. So you got to keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So earlier, before we started rolling, you were getting into some stories. So your drummer has a nice studio space. We were talking to the bandwagon, obviously. Shout out to the
Yeah,
bandwagon.
this place is
Shout
rad.
out
This
Bandwagon.
place is
So-
so cool.
Thank you.
So they have their own studio space, Heart and Hustle, and you had some interesting stories about that. But tell us about the space first, and then we'll get into the story time here.
Yeah, so Kyle and his girlfriend, they bought a house here in downtown Kelowna, and this is while I was gone, while I was in Australia, and he was playing in bands during that time as well,
Mhm.
but his girlfriend would get so pissed off at them because they would like jam up in the attic, and like Kyle is a gorilla drummer, right? Like he is the loudest.
So loud.
He's the loudest drummer, so that understandably drove her insane. So he hired a contractor and built to specs a garage in the backyard, like poured a foundation, got a bunch of framing done, drywalled it and everything, and then he just soundproofed it, like caulked all of the. But there's like no way for air to get in or out of this like room, like it is to the detail like caulked up and it's like soundproof.
How do you breathe inside? Do you
Well,
have like a little
sometimes in
air
the
vent?
summer, dude. Sometimes in the summer when it's like 30 something degrees and we're all like so sweaty in there, like I'm not
Take
sure.
a quick break. So are you okay here?
Yeah, you grab me one there too.
For the audio listeners, we got some brewskis, but they were hiding underneath the desk.
Sorry, audio
So you could
guys.
just go for it.
Quick plug for PBR here.
Yeah, hey, sponsors.
Please sponsor us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But yeah. So I think it was really clever because he basically like added a detached garage to his property, and yeah, we feel it's kind of similar to this. Like we have our full studio set up, full PA with a board, drum kit, guitar amps everywhere, big like bass amp, guitars hanging on all the walls. Like it's the real like audio nerd man cave.
audio nerd man.
Yeah, and it's kind
It
of
is
like
beautiful.
it's we call it the Heart and Hustle headquarters.
Yeah.
And just like our whole kind of like group of friends uses it too. Like a bunch of our friends
Nice.
are musicians and stuff as well, and that's just kind of like our little home base where you can just go and
Jam.
smoke a joint and drink some beers and jam.
Did you
And
talk about the 2 inches?
what's that?
The 2 inches
2 inches?
for when
What
he was building the space.
do you mean?
When Kyle was building space, how they built it on the cement.
Oh yeah, I think it was just like a contractor screwed up or something.
Yeah, but didn't he have to rebuild the whole
Oh
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
So here's
Jeez.
okay. Yeah, here's the second part to this story. So, and I'd say we're like very respectful. Like we never play past 9:00. We're like we try. It isn't like fully soundproof.
Sometimes we just want to go
Yeah.
a little bit to 9:30, but that's because we're just
Yeah.
like vibing, you know.
Yeah.
But like it's attenuated pretty well.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you can maybe hear like the kick drum
Yep.
outside or something, but it's pretty reasonable. But all the neighbors are cool with it. They've never like they like it actually. They've never had any issues. But there's this one like grumpy old couple that would like who called bylaw on us a bunch.
Oh, no.
And then bylaw would show up and they'd be like, yeah, it's like this is all good. Like keep doing your thing, guys. Like, don't worry.
Boom.
But they kept calling and kept calling until eventually the one bylaw officer didn't share the opinion of his colleagues
Oh,
and
no.
and wrote us a fat ticket. And so yeah, we were bummed because it basically meant like we couldn't jam anymore. So
Yep.
so we're just like, okay, well, we got to do whatever it takes to like keep this going. So it's all drywalled and stuff on the inside. So we took everything out and put up a second layer of drywall,
Yeah.
Oh,
like which is
shit.
and just like doing your own drywalling in a space like this. It's been like vaulted ceilings and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it was a huge job that took an entire summer. And this is when we were like right smack in the middle of recording our EP too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we put up a whole entire, completely redid the inside, completely recaulked everything, put up a whole another layer of drywall. Like I said, it took like all summer, and then we got it back going, and there wasn't any issues after that. Thank God.
Yeah.
It was a ton of work. It was really expensive too.
So what was that 2 inches about? Like, would you 2-inch
That was
smaller because of the
Kyle-
drywall?
Kyle told me about the story where like
I think it's just like
first initially built it, or maybe it was a cement slab that he built.
It's just
on,
the contractor like screwed up his measurements by
Yeah.
a little bit.
and then the land dude came by and he's like, "It's
No.
off." Like,
Yeah.
What? Oh, that's so
God,
shitty.
But I'm so thankful we have that space though, because like
Oh, dude.
yeah, trying to find a place where you can like just be loud and jam, you know, like it's hard to. I'm sure these boys like you have
hard
this
to find.
which is
This place
it's
is
the same
sick.
thing. Like this place is so rad.
It's
Yeah.
just like thinner and longer, and a little different.
Yeah, I think this space
Yeah.
space is so cool.
This is
It's
definitely,
definitely
a little bigger.
different, yeah.
A
And
little
just
bigger.
having that space where you can
This
just
is great though.
go and just get into that like flow
Yeah.
state and
So-
just jam and hang with your boys. Like
My
it's nice to have that.
anecdotal story, I guess. I probably told it somewhere else on like a podcast, but I used to be in a metal band in high school, like
Nice.
cover band. We wrote one song before no one knew what songwriting was, so our song had like 24 tracks, and we gave up because it was just spaghetti. But anyway, we'd practice in my friend's basement because he was the drum player. He didn't want to move his drums around, so we'd bring it to his basement. And the neighbors never really had too much of a problem, but his dad collected beer bottles. So we could only play so loud because if we played too loud, all the beer bottles would vibrate
Oh,
off
really?
because they're stacked around. So think like
Yeah,
where these
yeah.
lights are. I guess for the audio listeners, I'm sorry. Just like basically the beer bottle, like the tops touch the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it's just lining the walls, and we'd be jamming, and then obviously, you know, we're playing some Avenged Sevenfold, some Iron Maiden, and we're just going too hard.
Yeah.
Forget about the beer bottles, and eventually someone gets knocked right in the back of the head with a
Oh no.
big ass beer bottle. And just it was terrible. But yeah, getting a space that is nice, and especially now that, you know, everyone's an adult and that you have disposable income to proof your rooms, getting it so it doesn't leak sound, so it's nice and comfy, so it just sounds good too. Like if you have like bad bass traps or corners for normal people, then it's like, you know, it's gonna sound really bad in your room, and you're not gonna feel super great about what you're making.
And you just you're not gonna coming back to like getting your brand established, like getting some content. If you don't have a space where you can get that work done, then like you just can't, you know, you can't like you can't progress up, because
I mean, you can book a studio to record, but where are you gonna practice before you book the studio? Because you got to make sure you get your sound down before you're paying like $300 for like an hour-long session over in, you know, whatever studio you're looking at.
Totally. So that's, I'd say, a good kind of segue for our next goal, I guess you could say. We're just kind of like saving all of our cash from playing shows and stuff, and then we want to go down. There's a couple of studios down in Van that we want to go in and like record a legit single in one of these studios that we we follow a lot of the bands that the engineers and stuff that work in them, and a lot of bands that we look up to that have done albums and stuff there. So that's our saving up some cash to go do a legit.
While you're in Van, you should go hit up Nardwar. You guys watch
Yeah.
Nardwar?
Yeah,
Get a Nardwar interview.
Dude, did you get interviewed by Nardwar? You've made it.
Yeah, I was watching some this morning. I was watching. My girlfriend's a big fan of Grimes, but but like she used to be really weird, and now she's like dating Elon Musk, pregnant weird.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then we're like, she's in the recommended like a Nardwar. I'm like, what the hell, Nardwar? I'm like, oh yeah, she's from Van, and it's interesting seeing like, especially the Vancouver music scene is like just bigger Kelowna. So like everyone's super tight knit over there, and it's really nice. And you know, I haven't been. I'm not a band in Vancouver, but I'm sure it's just like a really friendly atmosphere, like it is here, where everyone wants to help each other out. Lots of collaboration, and like, you know, every band at least knows someone. So like, you know, played the Kevin Bacon game where like 1 degree of separation from every other band.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's nice. Are you guys gonna mix it yourself? Or are you gonna get mixed in
next
Vancouver
time?
As well?
Like I really enjoyed the process of doing our EP ourselves. Like we learned a lot about everything. I mean, like producing, engineering, mixing. We did our own mastering and stuff too. But the next time I would do something like that, I don't want to have to touch the mics at all or anything, you know, because like
get more heads in.
By the time you're worrying about your mic placement, and you're like half on the computer, like half on, you know, like hit and play on your computer, and then going and then like running back to like get your take in. It just takes. I want to just be able to sit down. Everyone does everything for me, and I only have to focus on my performance.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fiddling too. Like especially when you're doing like your own music projects, since you aren't paying for the space, you own it. It's all your own equipment. You can just do whatever you want. You got unlimited time. Sometimes you'll just overwork stuff. It's like when you're making like bread, you over knead the dough and it just turns to garbage. And it's like you gotta just have some degree of separation from the production aspect and just focus on your music.
Totally. And you're so biased about every little detail because because you're hands on the whole time. So even like through tracking. And then getting into you found it.
Dude, I don't know about it.
Jacob lost his lighter before we started shooting, and he just found it.
I found it. It was
yeah.
Like you're just you become so desensitized to it. Because after you've listened to it, you've comped all your tunes, like comped all your takes, started your own mix. Like you just listened to every aspect of it so many times that you're not making your judgment isn't. It's so biased because you're just so attached to it.
I remember making my EP in college, just like 2 weeks to do this one thing, and the studio at the college, it scared me because I was like, there's so much I could do here, but my practice zone and like where I make my music, it's at my space, space at home. So I just did everything there, and just kind of forgot to bring it back to the studio to like make things perfect. But yeah, it's all about just getting your own space kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, next time, someone else engineer it.
Yep.
Mix it.
Yep.
Be nice to have just like someone to offer like in terms of like production, of songs, like what kind of overdubs to do, what ideas for backing vocals.
Just having like a producer.
Just
on
having
it?
an extra, just having an extra influence who can like come up with good ideas.
So usually we like to wrap up the show with a little bit of advice for aspiring bands or musicians or anyone in the craft that similar to you guys. So apart from all the other wonderful like anecdotes and advice you've given so far, do you have anything that you'd say to someone who's just getting into music or just started a band?
Don't stop.
Yeah. For me, like, without a doubt, like, just have fun, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just have fun.
Hey,
It shows for the cam right there.
for the camera, for the audio listener, he has a
Yeah,
just have
Just
fun
like
hat.
if you like do it because you love it and because it's fun and you love hanging out with your buddies, and if you do that, you'll do it a lot, and if you do it a lot, you'll get good at it, and
Nice.
it'll drive you to share it. Like, have fun, and the rest follows from there.
It's just all about the passion, man.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling it when you're making it, it's not for you, kind of thing. But if I had any advice for like producing side, music side, whatever, if you're practicing, starting a new instrument, starting a new DAW, making some music, just don't stop. Don't take as many breaks as you want. Don't get back onto video games and back into old habit stuff. Just keep working.
Yeah.
Because the more you do, you won't feel it, but you're learning every single time you try.
Yeah. Coming back to, I think, like, it's just something I'm just big on in life in general is like set goals. Because, like, to me, goals provide structure for all of your decision making. So if you say that you want to do something, then all of your decisions either bring you closer to that thing or take you further away. So it provides structure to your decision making.
Do you guys ever set deadlines? That's been a thing for me that's been really big. It's just setting deadlines,
Yeah.
even if they're loose. Like, I want to get this done by this date. Like, say you're learning a new instrument. I want to be able to get, memorize this amount of chords or get my theory ready by this date. Or writing a song, like I want my lyrics or I want my riff or my chorus or whatever done by a set amount of time. So you feel like you lit a fire under your ass. You got to actually
Put some
work towards
pressure on
something.
yourself, yeah.
Because I've seen some people set a goal, but they don't work towards it all the time because they're motivated to reach it, but not motivated enough to start. So having something that'll set a deadline, or one of the worst things you can do, but it really lights a fire, is like social media. We're dropping an album.
Oh, yeah.
Just pick a date. I'm like, yeah, you haven't started yet, but
Yeah.
you better get on it. and
Everybody's
stuff
gonna
like
be
that.
asking you.
Yeah.
Time.
No, yeah. So is that anything else you guys want to say before you close out the show? Anything you want to promote? Your music, your social?
Yeah, I guess like at Heart and Hustle Band on Instagram.
Is it and or the and sign?
It's on Instagram. It's and like AND. On Spotify, we have our EP up there. It's Heart ampersand Hustle.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah,
Ampersand.
that's
That's how you
that's
name
the
it?
name of the symbol. Yeah.
Damn, ampersand.
But yeah, dude, thanks for having us. And like shout out,
This is great, guys.
shout out to the Bandwagon.
Again,
Too. Like this
yeah.
place is so rad.
First ever podcast. Hope it was good. Hope
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah, let them know, guys. Go and comment on their posts. Tell them how great they were on the podcast. Yeah, and this will be coming out before. This is a rare occurrence. There's something to promote right after this podcast comes out. Is you guys have a gig at a location here in Kelowna. Would you like to tell the audience about that?
If I didn't touch on it earlier, yeah, we're playing with the 538 Street Boys. February 8th, which coincidentally,
The 28th.
Oh, the Well-
That one's
the Well
already-
show. Yeah.
Yes.
should be mentioned as well that this February show coincides with my 30th birthday
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
My birthday.
Yeah, and but yeah, we're playing a show at the Well at the UBCO campus on February 28th as well. So it'll be a fun show as well.
We'll be vibing. Yeah.
Coming out.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Is it 18 plus, 19 plus, or is it just?
It is 19 plus, yeah.
All right. Don't bring your kids.
Sorry,
Don't
kid.
bring your
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah, leave
Yeah.
leave
See
your
when we get
toddlers at
them
home.
just thrown around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mosh
Don't
pit.
throw your baby in the mosh pit. Definitely something you don't want to do. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks everyone for listening or watching. If you want some more episodes, you want any more content, you can check out the Very Interesting People on all social. We're TheVIPcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, all those podcast platforms. It's Very Interesting People podcast. On YouTube, Kiefer Camney, or just look at Very Interesting People. It's up there. And yeah, thanks so much. Leave a rating. on iTunes. Go check these guys out, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Deuces.
Deuces.